As many people now know, there is a lot happening underneath the Giza Plateau, and there are beings that are allowing me to go into the space that is beneath the plateau to understand how are the structures of that space related to this mission. These beings that are speaking to me, they can be understood as guardians of this lower space. They watch over the development of the Earth grid consciousness. What they are showing me is rather complex. It is easiest to understand like a supercomputer. Information goes out from there and is able to be read by other beings that are assisting humanity. In May, we are bringing through the next layer of the Earth grid consciousness. People who are feeling the call to participate more deeply. You are also accepting any activation symptoms that may come from it. If you do feel that you are strong enough, joining is for the evolution of your soul as well. And it means that you are carrying a peace on behalf of all humanity. If you are one who feels called to participate in this mission, it would be an honor to hold this with you. To know that in our lifetime, we were part of the anchoring of the new consciousness for all of humanity. And it's not just for our lifetime, it is for all future lifetimes that we are doing this. It is for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. It is for times that we will never see. But we will know this was the place where it all started. Hello, my name is Eluña. I am an Akashic channeler and a psycho-spiritual healer and teacher. This is a video about the upcoming energies for May and what is taking place very specifically during the time that I will be leading a group through Egypt. We are very blessed with the upcoming energies that are arriving on this planet right now, but also during the month of May. There is an overlap in the timeline that is taking place around the midpoint of May, and it is going to continue through the month of June. That is because we are bringing in the energies from 2026, and part of the experience that I have been gifted with while leading this group of people through Egypt is this mission to activate and align the Earth grid consciousness while we are in Egypt. So, as many people now know, there is a lot happening underneath the Giza Plateau and actually the majority of Egypt, and that is partially because that is a central location for how we remember our truth. We remember the truth of God in that space, and that means that when we activate and bring through energies in the land of Egypt, particularly in some of the different pyramids that are there, that affects the entire consciousness grid on the planet. I go into a lot more detail about the Earth Consciousness Grid in the public forum that I did back in a couple months ago, so I encourage you to look at that. This experience and this event that is taking place, it is because of all of the energy that is building up currently right now that is leading to what is going to take place in May. So, currently, we are seeing and are going to continue to see this dissolution of old structures, of old paradigms. It has to start, however, in the consciousness of people. So before we can completely see the physical dissolution of a structure, even if that structure is not physical, such as economy, etc., it first has to start to dissolve and be deconstructed within humans' consciousness. That is the way that this transition can be the most peaceful. It is the way that people are not going to kind of lose their minds, so to speak, when the structures do start to fall. It will feel a lot more natural, of more like a, oh yeah, I actually expected that to happen. We want it to feel like a natural next step. That is how evolution happens peacefully. So, we have been given this information about what is coming in May and the way that all of us are able to participate in the energies to ground the new Earth consciousness grid into that central location, which is kind of like the central hub of the Earth. So, what I would like to do is speak a little bit about what that mission is, how you are able to participate, and I also want to tune in, and there are beings that have actually invited me to, are allowing me to go into the space that is beneath the plateau to understand more intimately what is there and how are the structures of that space related to this mission. Because of course that came out exactly in time to understand more of how this consciousness grid is being implanted there. So I would like to find out more information about that as well as this mission, and then share a little bit with you about how you can support this, because we actually want as many people as possible in the same state of mind, having the same shared goal to support this so that it can be the most peaceful transition for humanity. That's the idea. So I'm going to take a moment to tune in, and we will see what comes through about this mission and what is happening under the plateau. Thank you, Akashic Guides, for being here. Thank you also. I appreciate your guidance during this time. And thank you, the beings that maintain this space. Deeply honored to have this intimate look in. Thank you very much. Very privileged to do this. Thank you. Yes, I understand. So, my question is, how do the structures that are underneath the Giza Plateau, as well as the ones above, the pyramids that will be visited during this journey, how are they connected to the bringing in and the rooting and anchoring of this new consciousness into the Earth grid? How is it connected? What does that have to do with this mission? Okay. They are saying there is much to say about this, and depending on who you ask, they are actually going to have their own answer in some way, simply because the space that they are carrying and the space that they are holding brings through a unique energy. And so when new consciousness is being grounded into a space, they are able to speak from that energetic perspective. So that is interesting. These beings that are speaking to me, they can be understood as guardians of this lower space. I will not say more than that, as they do not wish me to. But they are saying that they hold a perspective that is entirely connected to the Earth grid consciousness, because that is their primary role and function, is that they watch over this space and watch over the development of the Earth grid consciousness. They do not allow certain modes of consciousness to enter this space. And so that is actually part of the reason why humanity has not been ready to fully know what is beneath the plateau, because once people know, their consciousness will start to slowly seep through. Just like water, energetically, their consciousness will start to seep into that space, and it will begin to affect that space, and simultaneously that space will begin to affect them. So that is why this has all emerged just before this mission, because it is necessary for most of humanity, as much as possible, who are wanting to see the evolution of consciousness, to know of what is below, not necessarily in a direct, literal sense of what the structures look like, more to understand that there is more beneath, and that it is directly connected to the Earth grid consciousness. So that is why this information has come out now, why humanity has learned about it. It is, in a way, preparing for what is coming in May, so that people can take a little bit of time to understand and let that just land in them, that there is much more beneath the surface than meets the eye. And one of my guides are saying, which is a metaphor, of course. My guide always brings me to that. That makes sense. It's a metaphor to understand life. So, specifically for our group, they are saying, the group of people who will be physically present, but more than that, the group who will be consciously present is what they are saying. The ones who choose to participate in this with their full consciousness, whether they are there in person or whether they are there live at the time that anything is taking place, is irrelevant, because the space that holds the energy of the Earth grid consciousness does not function on time. These beings are there to actually maintain a semblance of chronology, which is why they are overseeing it. It is why this time is when this information has been released. Otherwise, the information would just go out because it is simply a part of evolution, but it would be too much. It would be like floodwaters being released, and the majority of human consciousness are simply not ready. They are not ready to take in what would happen. And in a more literal sense, the energy that comes from that space would be a detriment to their consciousness. They are saying it would in many ways destroy parts of their consciousness because it is simply too much to learn at one time. That is why grounding what we are grounding there is vital, they say, to the peaceful transition and evolution of humanity. That is very good to know. So I have been reading that the right way. Yes, I understand that. So they are saying that that is part of the reason why I'm even allowed to do this. It feels like a very big responsibility, to be honest, and it's an honor, and also it is a very big responsibility. And they are saying that I am perfectly prepared for it, so I will just accept that as truth. And what they are saying is that the primary piece, okay. They are saying that it is not necessary, actually, which is surprising to me. It is not necessary to have a specific intention for specific ceremonies. I was going to ask them that question, which clearly they already knew. I wanted to ask them about certain events that are taking place if they had guidance around what to go in with. They are saying that the intention should be for the peaceful evolution of humanity. That is it. The peaceful evolution of humanity. Everything that comes from that intention is of the highest vibration and is only for the highest good of all life, including the earth herself, all life that is on the earth, as well as the universe as a whole. It is the peaceful evolution. That is part of what we are moving through, is how to evolve peacefully, to come back from a very dark space of despair and then come into light peacefully, rather than the violence and aggression that has been dominant on this planet for some time, they say. Okay? So, I see. Okay, so this was also my question that they are answering. My question was about, for some of the ceremonies and rituals that are taking place, it is helpful for the human self to have an anchor so that the energy can be more deeply anchored. There are some people who all they need is the intention of the peaceful evolution of humanity. And if that is you, then hold on to that. If there is more that your ego needs in order to stay centered and focused on what is happening and to feel like you are playing a bigger role than simply holding that intention, that is my job as Eluña to create that to guide you. So that's good to know, and I will do that accordingly. Okay, thank you. Okay, so they are now showing me these structures and really the energy of what is taking place there. I will say that it reminds me of this invention that is used actually in the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. It is called the Archimedes screw. It was a revolutionary way of moving water up so in an anti-gravity sense, moving water up to a higher space and still being able to water the plants because the gardens are hanging, or were, I should say. And so that invention was used in the Hanging Gardens, and that is very similar to this structure. Well, they say energetically it's similar. They are saying that this energy is able to both bring up information as well as bring down information. These different cylinders, I guess, yes, do them at different times, use energy moving up or down at different times. Okay, it's very interesting. It is, what they are showing me is rather complex, the structure. Oh, so it is part of the internal structure of our Earth, but they are showing it to me in an energetic sense. That's why it's rather complex, because it's not all of it is literal. It is there trying to help me understand the movement of energy. So what I can see, there is a core within Earth. That space both gives and receives energy. That is part of the way that the consciousness of Earth works. We could understand that as the subconscious of Earth. That is one way of understanding this, because it is the deepest part of the consciousness of Earth. Energy and information moves toward the surface of the Earth, and we see the conscious reflection of that energy on the surface of the Earth, through the plants, through the animals, through ourselves. So the deepest part of evolution takes place in this subconscious center, if you will. That is where it is maintained and where it emanates from. We, as part of the Earth's consciousness, we are working to be more conscious. We are working to create the deepest layer of the subconscious to be conscious, to be on the surface, to no longer be hidden. That is the nature of evolution. When things come to the forefront and you are able to look at it, that allows the process of evolution to continue and for deeper and deeper things to rise. It is, of course, never-ending. It's an infinite process, but that is the movement of it. To bring things from the deep, allow them to surface, to evolve and grow with what comes up, and that process goes on. So, from that center, outward moves information, and part of what is happening within the Giza Plateau. Information goes out from there and actually is sent to other beings, because part of what happens is the information not just goes to the surface of the Earth, it goes into the atmosphere and beyond, in the auric field of the Earth. The toroidal auric field is what they're showing me. When information enters that space, it is able to be read, so to speak, by other beings that are assisting humanity, whose evolution is also connected to our own evolution, for a variety of reasons, and different beings have different reasons for being connected. But those beings, when they receive certain information from deep within this Earth, they then understand where humanity is going, the next likely phase of evolution, and that is how they are actually able to assist us. Yes, partially, they are able to have an idea of what is coming, but there is also the actual surfacing of information. When it fully comes to the surface, that is when they're able to say, oh, okay, this is where humanity is at, so we know what to bring next. They are giving the example. That is part of the reason why there is now a more known date for when first contact is going to start taking place, because they can see that the consciousness of humanity will be ready around the year of 2027. It's not going to happen in the way that we think, they say, but that is around the time when consciousness of humanity is going to be more capable of handling a first contact scenario and more information around that, in a broader, more public sense, that is. Okay. That's interesting. So, within these structures, beneath the plateau, they are showing me how they are connected. They are saying it is easiest to understand like a supercomputer. And the other part is that it is also living. Just like we are a living supercomputer and the Earth can be considered a living supercomputer, that is also the way these structures beneath the Earth also should be understood. It is a supercomputer and it is living. The reason why that is important to understand, the living aspect of it, is because that means that it is responding to life and being affected by life. So it is not just a solid, inanimate machine that is just moving. That's not the way that it works. It is in relationship to life and in relationship to consciousness. That is why when I very first went to Egypt, my understanding of the pyramids is that they were living beings, and I could not understand why that was so strong within me, but they felt and they feel alive. And they're saying that's because they are. And this is how to understand that. It is because they are responding to life and to consciousness. So, we are bringing through, in May, we are bringing through the next layer of the Earth Grid consciousness. This is a deeper understanding of unity and it starts within some of the deepest layers of the psyche of the human. That means very deep in the subconscious, very deep in the mental framework, so that when this earth grid consciousness is rooted in a person's consciousness, it is going to start to push things to the surface, because that root means that something is going to grow from it. So it is going to begin to push things to the surface. That is going to be disruptive. The rooting and the grounding, not so much. It will feel slightly uncomfortable in both physical and energetic and emotional ways. It can feel slightly uncomfortable, but that's more on an individual level. When those things start to grow, when these new aspects of consciousness begin to grow in humanity, that means the topsoil where those things are growing through is going to be disrupted. It's going to create some shifting. That shifting, that disruption, that is the old structure. That is the old structure of consciousness, as well as the old systems that are going to start to fall away. It is going to start to be seen there is something that is lacking here. There is something missing. So some of these new aspects of consciousness, they are going to, like a tree, grow right up in the middle of a system and just be there in the middle of a system, and it's going to be very easy to see, oh, okay, this is actually where we need to go. This tree is very clearly what we want to be in relationship to. It has things to teach us, and everything that is around this tree needs to go. That is going to be one way. Another way is that first, before something emerges to the surface, there's going to be a gap, a hole, because something is preparing to come, but it's not quite ready yet. That gap, people are energetically and just in their consciousness going to be tuned in. There is something that could grow there. What is that? There's going to be this curiosity as well as this dynamic creative tension that starts to arrive in people where they begin to feel more tense. They begin to say there is just something else that could be there. And it's going to be a little bit irritating because it's going to feel like an itch that you can't quite scratch. It's something that you can almost put your finger on, but you can't quite see it yet. That is also going to be part of what happens. The purpose of having this new layer of the Earth Grid consciousness be anchored during this time in May is twofold, they are saying. One reason is because it is also acting as a pinching off point for this new timeline that is overlapping in the month of May. That is just a way of understanding it in the simplest terms. There is a timeline where we are overlapping and kind of jumping ahead of what we would be doing. This new Earth Grid consciousness is anchoring that to where we are. So that's the first reason. The second reason is because if we do not have those holes that were mentioned where there is something that is going to grow through, if we do not have other spaces where there is something new that is growing up and through the systems that are already in place, people will lose hope. People will enter into states of despair because things will be falling apart and they will say, now what do we do? If none of this works, where do we go? We want to make this peaceful. That means that we must bring the new energy, the new abilities, the new possibilities for these new systems. We must bring them now so that they can be felt, so that people can play with them a little bit, so that people can feel more comfortable when all of this starts to dissolve. They can say, oh, you know what? It's actually okay. We have this to turn to. That is why this mission is taking place. That is why May is such a significant month. It is going to show a lot of cracks, and a lot of it is going to be psychic, energetic, so people who are sensitive are going to be noticing that first, more than anything. But we want this to be peaceful. We want the crumbling away to be something that feels natural. So, when we are in Egypt, and when other people who choose to participate in this consciousness grid anchoring and activation, whether they are conscious of it or not, if someone holds the intention that they want to create peace within humanity, that they are here for the evolution of humanity, they are actually taking place in it, whether they recognize that or not, whether they even know that this is happening in May or not. They are taking place because this is why they are here. They are here to help establish this. So, people who are feeling the call to participate more deeply, these beings below the plateau are saying, the idea is that because you are consciously choosing to do this, you are also accepting any activation symptoms that may come from it. So because you have a unique energetic blueprint to your being, you are going to be used in certain ways. That might mean that you are one who is used for clearing a lot of emotional energy, which means you might feel deeply emotional during the month of May. You might be one who is being used to clear physical tension, which means you might be dealing with headaches or your body might be really tight in certain ways. That is another example. Those are physical symptoms that you might experience, and they are saying those are just a few of what you might experience from participating in this. So it is not necessary to physically participate if you do not feel called. If you simply hold the intention, that is truly enough. If you do feel that you are strong enough to show up for this, and your heart is saying, yes, I want to do this, even if there is a little bit of fear, they are saying, in your heart, joining is for the evolution of your soul as well. And it means that you are carrying a piece, a very specific part of this anchor on behalf of all humanity, which means when the energy comes through you, it is entirely unique the way that it will be anchored, and that is what we need on this planet. We need as many conscious beings choosing to be anchors of this consciousness and anchors of light. We need as many as possible, again, so that this can be the most peaceful transition for humanity. Because the more people that have this anchored in their consciousness, they will bring it through in the earth where they are located. So physically through their body and energetically through their body, it will ground into the earth. So that is first, that you are going to be affecting the earth that surrounds you. The next piece is that because it is rooted in your personal consciousness, anywhere you go, you are now going to be affecting people with that same consciousness. It is going to help very lightly lift things to the surface for all of humanity. It means that the way that this consciousness is going to move through humanity is going to be more like a soft breeze carried on the currents of the wind, not a huge tidal wave that comes and slams into us. We do not have to do that again, is what they just said. They said, what do you think happened in Atlantis? Because I said, what do you mean again? They said, what do you think happened in Atlantis? Wow. Because water is the physical representation of the depths of the subconscious. And the wave that came was a physical manifestation of the subconscious needing to come to the surface because it was not being honored. We don't have to do that again. This can be a peaceful transition. And with the number of people who are choosing to participate in this, it is going to allow this to just be a gentle, calm sweeping through. Not a storm, not a tornado, not a tidal wave. Gentle, peaceful. Even while there are crumbling structures falling around you in both literal and metaphorical senses, it can still be peaceful because there will be joy with all of the hope and all of the understanding that surfaces from this experience throughout the entire collective of humanity. So, thank you. All right. Thank you very much for your information. So, if you are one who feels called to participate in this mission, wherever you are in the world, at whatever time you are in the world, whether it is the day of or not, It would be an honor to hold this with you. To know that in our lifetime, we were part of the anchoring of the new consciousness for all of humanity. And it's not just for our lifetime. It is for all future lifetimes that we are doing this. It is for our children and our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren. It is for times that we will never see. But we will know this was the place where it all started. This anchoring. And if any part of you feels drawn to this right now, your first feeling is always correct. That is where you are meant to be. So if later on your ego says, I don't know if I'm strong enough, yes, you are. This is why you came. So, thank you. So, I am going to prepare, as they have directed me to, I am going to prepare very special experiences, guided ceremonies for you. And I am also going to lead different activations during the month of May. All of the ways that that is going to happen are available on my website. So the specific dates, the details, all of that will be available on my website. I would absolutely love to have you join for this. It is a tremendous honor, to be one who gets to be a part of this and happens to be the one sharing this message at this moment. I know that there will be others who feel the same, who end up doing the same work that I don't know, that probably I will never meet in my life, that don't know me. I know that that is what will happen because this is the energy that we have been preparing for and that is coming to us in May. So, there will be a full moon ceremony that takes place on May 12th. There is an activation in the Crystal Pyramid in Egypt on May 21st. The day that we are grounding this into the actual Earth herself and into the consciousness grid, I will be leading a guided walking meditation around the Giza Plateau, and I will be live streaming that meditation to YouTube. So that will be a premiere that is available on my channel that you can tune into and be going through the guided meditation to ground your consciousness into that land as well. And simultaneously, you are acting as a receiver of the consciousness of that land wherever you are in the world. So that's the other part of this, is bridging and connecting so many people and so many parts of consciousness to that land and vice versa. And then the culmination of that is that later that night, I will be leading the group through the initiation into the Great Pyramid, and there is also information about how you can participate in that remotely. That is how the actual consciousness is going to enter into that pyramid, which is a sender and receiver of information. Each one of those activations and ceremonies that I just mentioned, they are holding a specific piece, a specific step to this process. So I didn't know that necessarily before I came on here. I knew that those were playing a role, but I did not know that there were actually specific steps to them. So I am going to have all of that available. You will see it on my website. It is eluñanoel.com that you will be able to find all of this information. And I fully welcome you, with all of you, with all of your soul, with all of your heart, to support this in the way that also supports you, in the way that feels in resonance to you, whether that is a private ceremony on your own, whether that is simply holding the peaceful evolution for all of humanity in your heart and in your mind. That is enough. If you want to go farther, please go to my website. And as I see a lot, I won't say I see everything, because that wouldn't be accurate, but I do see a lot. And when we are doing these activations together, I will see you in the astral. I promise you that. That's something that I always see. The thousands of people that are participating, I see you. And I look forward to seeing you while I'm in Egypt. Together, making history together this May. So, until I see you again, in the astral or otherwise, I'm sending you my love. May you remember your magic today.